Nothing can prepare the visitor for the awe-inspiring immensity of the Grand Canyon, one of the world's great natural wonders. Peering down into this chasm is to look back in time. Over 1 billion years of geologic history. Nowhere else can such a span be seen at once, and so graphically laid out. Most experience its awesome beauty from the rim, from the popular South Rim, and from the remote North Rim. But for the adventurer, there's a world to be explored in the Grand Canyon's wild country. An upside-down mountain is how the Grand Canyon has been described. It is a place that transcends simple descriptions. In the canyon, what appear to be small hills would be mountains anywhere else. Man-made wonders pale before the immensity of this great chasm. The passage of time here is not on a human scale, but on an earth scale. Formations that rise and fall over countless cycles of the moon and sun. This is the canyon against which all other canyons are measured. In the southwest of the United States, along the northwestern corner of Arizona, the Grand Canyon straddles the Colorado River for 277 river miles. Most of the canyon is protected in Grand Canyon National Park. For thousands of years, Native Americans lived here. Rock art on the canyon walls shows symbolic animals, human figures, and geometric designs created by ancient hunters and gatherers. The first inhabitants were descendants of Asian immigrants who arrived during the last ice age. Split twig animal figures made from willows are some 2,500 to 4,000 years old. The people who made them left little other evidence of their occupation of the area. Then, 1,500 years ago, came the ancestral Puebloan, who built rock structures that stand to this day. Searching for gold, Spanish explorers crossed the high desert and stood on the rim of the canyon. That was in 1540. They were not impressed. Members of Coronado's expedition thought the river was 6 feet across. Its scale was beyond their imagination. In 1776, Francisco Garces, a Franciscan priest, named the river Colorado, the color red in Spanish. In the thrust of Western expansion, the canyon was a great unknown, as foreign as the moon. Until John Wesley Powell, just over a century ago, ventured into the canyon. A major on General Ulysses S. Grant's staff, Powell lost his arm in the terrible Battle of Shiloh, but he never lost his thirst for adventure. In 1869, he sought the secrets of the Grand Canyon. 9 men joined the great adventure. Despite setbacks, capsizing boats, loss of food and supplies, 6 survived, and his account started a growing interest in this great chasm. People began to make the pilgrimage, and they still do. First set aside as a national monument in 1908, the park was established in 1919 and enlarged in 1975. Today, millions of people from around the globe experience this spectacular gallery of nature. Flying over the Grand Canyon is a superb way to grasp the enormity of its grandeur. Grand Canyon Airport is one of the busiest single runways in North America, with both helicopter and airplane tours. Aircraft flight over the canyon is carefully regulated for safety and visitor enjoyment. Most tours follow a counterclockwise route, crossing the canyon rim just west of Grandview. The aircraft fly well above the rim. Flying upriver, the route skirts the Palisades of the desert on the east. The Little Colorado River, where it meets the Colorado, often looks blue because of the minerals in the water. Then the flight makes a sweeping turn toward the west, crossing the North Rim. Flying over the Kaibab Plateau reveals a checkerboard of broad forests and meadows. Leaving the North Rim, the route skirts Shiva Temple. Flying high above the Colorado reveals the inner gorge. Near Hermit's Rest, air traffic crosses back over the South Rim. By air, the Grand Canyon is a wonder. For over 100 years, trains have carried passengers to the Grand Canyon. Today, the Grand Canyon Railroad continues that tradition. The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad completed a spur line to the canyon in 1901. Then, most visitors arrived by rail, including 4 U.S. presidents. Today, a Wild West show entertains travelers before boarding the train in Williams, Arizona.
That's a little dress, ain't it?
During the summer, historic steam engines alternate with diesel locomotives, pulling the trains the 65 miles to the canyon. The locomotives are meticulously restored and maintained by mechanics who love trains. En route, the scenery changes on the run to the rim, from high desert to prairie.
Yes, they have a name, rain and wind and fire.
And then from prairie to pine. Riding the restored coaches is a chance to step back into history, to travel as visitors did before the automobile arrived at the Grand Canyon. The end of the run is the Grand Canyon Depot, in the heart of Grand Canyon Village, just a short walk away from the rim's magnificent views. Most people see the Grand Canyon from the rim, but since 1891, the mule trip down Bright Angel Trail has become a classic American adventure. The riders follow a route used by countless generations of Native Americans. Today, the trip begins with an early morning Mule Riding 101 class.
We've been doing this for a long time, more than 100 years now.
The mule wranglers always emphasize safety first.
I'm not gonna fool around with taking a chance getting somebody hurt today.
Mule riders share the trail with hikers, but mules have the right of way. The mules are superbly trained, and whenever the mules stop, they always face outward. Another safety precaution. From the South Rim, one-day trips head to Plateau Point, while the more adventurous end up at Phantom Ranch at the river bottom. Overnight mule trips return on the South Kaibab, where the trail climb out ends in a steep section of switchbacks just below the canyon rim at Yaqui Point. On the opposite side of the canyon, the North Rim also offers mule rides, along the rim and down the North Kaibab Trail. While not exactly comfortable, the mule ride takes travelers on an unforgettable journey below the rim, providing an up-close look at the fascinating diversity of life within the Grand Canyon. The astonishing variety of plants and animals in the Grand Canyon is due to dramatic changes in elevation. Hiking from the Colorado River to the rim, one encounters life zones, similar to traveling from Mexico to Alaska. At the lowest level, as the Colorado emerges from the western end of the canyon, the hot, dry desert is 1,200 feet above sea level. At the opposite extreme, subalpine forests rise to over 9,100 feet on the North Rim. Of the 7 plant life zones found in North America, the Grand Canyon is home to 4: Canadian, Transition, Upper Sonoran, and Lower Sonoran. Wildlife is adopted to the canyon extremes, but most visitors see wild critters along the rim. The hardy mule deer thrive in all but the lowest and hottest areas. With a 4-chambered stomach, they can browse in the open for brief periods of time and then retreat to sheltered areas to digest their meals. Each year, they grow new antlers. The largest member of the deer family, the Rocky Mountain elk, also shed their antlers each year. Desert bighorn sheep, unlike the deer, do not shed their horns, which grow throughout their lives. Winter cold is no problem. Bighorn sheep adapt well to the extremes of desert temperatures. They forage from the canyon rim down to the Colorado River in small groups. Predators, such as the coyote, are essential to the balance of nature. An adaptable member of the dog family, the coyote moves easily through all the areas of the park. A smaller predator, the bobcat, preys on birds and rodents. Smaller creatures seen along the rim include the rock squirrels, who, despite the name, also feed in trees. The Abert squirrel has a tasseled ear, as does its closest relative, the kaibab squirrel, which is found only on the North Rim. Less frequently seen, but present in all landscapes, are snakes, including several species of rattlesnakes. Many species of birds make their home in the canyon or pass through on migration routes. In the air, the common raven playfully sails the canyon air currents. Their role as scavengers is important to the health of the canyon. Another scavenger, the turkey vulture, soars along the rim. Today, the largest bird in the Grand Canyon is the California condor. On nearly 10-foot wingspans, condors fly from rim to rim in about an hour. In the course of a day, these birds can cover 150 miles searching for carrion. After almost disappearing from North America, a captive breeding program brought condors back to the Southwest. They like the Grand Canyon and often perch in front of Grand Canyon Village on the South Rim. The birds are tagged with numbers on their wings, making it easier for researchers to identify individuals. Keep your eyes open when exploring the canyon. Wildlife sightings are possible around every corner. The South Rim is the busiest part of the park, and the Grand Canyon Village area hosts the majority of visitors who arrive by car, train, or plane. Most of the services within the park are centered in the village, with its historic buildings, hotels, lodges, shops, park offices, and stores. One of the most prominent landmarks, the El Tovar Hotel, is just 20 feet from the rim. The Santa Fe Railroad built El Tovar Hotel as an oasis of comfort in the wilderness. It looks like log cabin construction, but it's not. Log siding and corner notching are part of its eclectic look. The turret is the most recognizable element of the hotel. Inside, it's rustic, yet comfortable. Dine with a view, accompanied by Native American-inspired artwork. Designed as an oasis of comfort for the early traveler, it remains an historic reminder of the park's architectural heritage. Across the driveway is Hopi House, which is modeled after homes in Hopi villages. Mary Elizabeth Jane Coulter designed this building, and many others at the Grand Canyon. She was one of the first architects to incorporate American Indian design in contemporary buildings. Hopi artisans used native stone and wood to build a traditional-appearing building that has been selling American Indian arts and crafts since 1905. Bright Angel Lodge, also designed by Mary Coulter, continued the integration of rustic appearance and Indian motifs. Hanging on the rim itself is one of Mary Coulter's more dramatic designs. lookout studio. The view is spectacular, and an added plus, it's a great spot for catching a glimpse of the condor. Getting around the village is as simple as hopping on a free shuttle. The hub of the service is at the Canyon View Information Plaza, with a visitor center and bookstore. Nearby Mather Point offers superb views. Stephen Mather was instrumental in setting up the National Park Service and served as its first director. Yavapai Observation Station, also close to the visitor center, reveals a dramatic section of the canyon. The Grand Canyon Village is a great starting point for any exploration of the canyon. Many popular viewpoints are to the west of the Grand Canyon Village, along the 8-mile stretch of Hermit Road. For 9 months of the year, March through November, shuttles and buses are primary means of transport on this road. Private vehicles are banned. Visitors board the shuttle at Hermit's Rest Transfer. These free shuttles reduce traffic congestion and parking problems.
That's right.
The first viewpoints are simply called Trail View 1 and Trail View 2, the perfect place for a view of Grand Canyon Village. Stopping at Maricopa Point allows a view of the Orphan Mine, which closed in the late 1960s. It was the last operating mine in the canyon. Each day, the workers hiked or rode the cable car down to the mine entrance. Some of the equipment is still here, as a reminder of Grand Canyon's mining history. Hopi Point is a favorite for sunrise and sunset pictures. It is named for Native Americans whose reservation is 100 miles east. The rocks here are Kaibab limestone, which is a yellow-gray formation. The rim vegetation is part of the Pinon juniper woodland. Here, one might see desert bighorn sheep. Mojave Point, 3/4 of a mile above the Colorado River, was named for the Mojave Indians, who lived downriver from the Grand Canyon. The 8-mile drive ends at Hermit's Rest Souvenir Shop, designed by Mary Coulter, who skillfully blended the building into the landscape. Keeping with the rustic atmosphere, a huge fireplace of native stone hugs the back of the building. Hermit's Rest is the end of the road, but not the end of the Grand Canyon, which continues for another 180 miles to the west. For a more complete picture of the canyon, travel east from the Grand Canyon Village, where Desert View Drive follows the rim for 26 miles to Desert View and the east entrance of the park. Yaqui Point, one of the first stops leaving the canyon village, is reachable only by riding the free shuttle bus. This is the jumping-off point for the South Kaibab Trailhead. Grandview Point, towards the middle of the Desert View Drive, looks down on the site of Last Chance Copper Mine. Moving eastward along the rim, one comes to Moran Point. This was named for the English painter Thomas Moran, whose 19th century landscapes brought him fame and created an appreciation for the new American landscape. So powerful were his paintings that they were influential in convincing Congress to establish Grand Canyon as a national park. The Tusayan Ruins and Museum offers a glimpse into the culture of the early Native Americans. One of more than 2,000 ancestral Puebloan sites in the canyon, this small community was inhabited about AD 1185 and was home to a community of 30 people. The foundations of the ruins are carefully preserved on a paved walking trail through the site. The ancestral Puebloans practiced dry land farming and left for other parts of the Four Corners region in the early 1200s. Lipan Point's dramatic views include Unkar Creek Delta along the Colorado, which was farmed by the ancestral Puebloans. Desert View's Watchtower is one of the most intriguing of Mary Coulter's canyon creations. After 6 months of studying ancestral Puebloan towers in the Four Corners area, she created this design. Inside the tower, Hopi artist Fred Kabuti painted the murals on the walls, which depict traditional legends and stories. Even the shape of the gift shop, which resembles a traditional kiva, is a tribute to the richness of the Native American culture of the region and their ancestors who walked this land for so many centuries. If the walls of the canyon could speak, they would tell countless stories of the early inhabitants of the Grand Canyon region. Even a short hike into the canyon reveals a fascinating world. Hikers going into the canyon need to be well prepared, plenty of water, good shoes, and being in shape. Never consider hiking to the river and back in one day. Knowing how to survive in a desert land is important to having a great canyon experience. One way to think about this trip is as a mountain in reverse. Almost a mile deep, one can experience a range of seasons, a snowstorm in the rim, while deeper in the canyon, spring flowers color the rock. At the deepest point, summer heat wilts the plants. At Yaqui Point, a steep set of switchbacks marks the beginning of the South Kaibab Trail. There's little room for mules and hikers to share the trail. Stand aside and give the mules the right-of-way. The trail follows a ridge that leads downward to, appropriately named, Ooh-Ah Point. The hike down the ridge to Cedar Ridge gives access to the inner canyon. The trail runs 6.3 miles down to the river and drops close to 5,000 feet. Grandview Trail is very steep, and drops quickly to Horseshoe Mesa. The Rim Trail is a moderate hike that runs from Pipe Creek Vista in Grand Canyon Village on the east to Hermit's Rest, approximately 13 miles. Partially paved and partially dirt, it is the best hike for children or people not prepared for the demands of hiking into the canyon, and is also wheelchair accessible on the paved portions. The most popular trail into the canyon begins near the Kolb Studio in Grand Canyon Village, where the Bright Angel Trail descends 4,400 feet over 8 miles to the river. The trail follows an ancient Native American path that was improved in 1891 to provide access to mining claims. With the heavy foot and mule traffic, trail crews work hard to maintain the trail. Even hiking a short distance down the Bright Angel Trail is an introduction to a world different from the Rim. It follows switchbacks through several layers of rock on its way to Indian Garden Campground. From Indian Garden, the trail drops down to the Colorado River. At the river, suspension bridges cross to the North Shore and Phantom Ranch. For those with hiking experience and conditioning, hiking up the North Kaibab Trail to the North Rim is a grand adventure. The hikes on the South Rim are more numerous than those on the North Rim, but North Rim isolation has a special appeal. The North Rim is only 10 miles by air from the South Rim, but it seems to be worlds away from the South Rim's millions of visitors. The side canyons here are longer, and the rim views farther than on the South Rim. The Kaibab Plateau has been eroded by streams that have cut far into it. Standing nearly 1,200 feet higher than the South Rim, the North Rim's yearly snowfall can be over 100 inches. During the winter, the road is closed to vehicle traffic. Point Imperial, at 8,803 feet, is the highest point that one can drive to on the rim of the Grand Canyon. Nearby Greenland Lake is often filled with water in the spring, but drains in the fall when it becomes a wild turkey haunt. It is surrounded by the dense spruce fir forest interspersed with meadows. The drive out to Cape Royal offers great views of the Painted Desert on the opposite side of the Grand Canyon. Native Americans have lived here seasonally as well. This ruin of a small community at Valhalla Overlook is just one reminder of the extensive use of the land by the ancestral Puebloans. At the end of the road is one of the North Rim's most dramatic viewpoints, Angel's Window. The North Rim is isolated, with accommodations within the park limited to Grand Canyon Lodge near the tip of Bright Angel Point. The original Grand Canyon Lodge was destroyed by fire and rebuilt in 1937. Its rustic construction of limestone walls and timbered ceilings complements the North Rim's lush beauty. Well before the lodge was built, President Theodore Roosevelt, an avid outdoorsman and conservationist, visited the Grand Canyon's North Rim. He hunted and explored in 1903, calling it the most impressive piece of scenery I've ever looked at. It was a moving experience that eventually led to protecting the area as a national monument in 1908. He declared, "The ages have been at work on it, and man can only mar it. What you can do is keep it for your children, your children's children, and for all who come after you." There's something fresh about the North Rim. It's a place to breathe in the cool mountain air and taste the spirit of the Grand Canyon that Teddy Roosevelt articulated. The seasonal story of the Grand Canyon is influenced greatly by elevation. When it is snowy and freezing in the winter on the rim, a mile lower along the river, it's spring-like. And during the summer, when the rim is pleasant, the Colorado River is baking in 100-plus temperatures. But even with a tremendous variation, there's a pattern to the seasons. The first blush of spring begins along the Colorado River and works its way upward to the south and north rims. Summer is a time of abundant flowers, a time for wildlife to forage and grow strong. During summer, bellowing clouds herald a summer thunderstorm. The changing colors of the aspen on the North Rim signal the coming of fall. Coming full cycle, winter storms exert a freezing grip on the canyon rims. Quiet returns to the canyon. Without the Colorado River, there would be no Grand Canyon. Over millions of years, its rushing, tumbling torrents have gouged out the canyon. Erosion carried away most of the rocks that fill this gaping maw in the Earth's surface. The current geologic theory holds that about 5.5 million years ago, a river flowing into the Gulf of California cut into the headlands of the Kaibab Plateau and joined the ancestral Colorado River, which flowed out of the Rocky Mountains. The two rivers joined to create the canyon. Today, Colorado River headwaters in Rocky Mountain National Park in Colorado begin almost 2.5 miles high. From these alpine beginnings, it runs 1,450 miles south and west to Mexico. Flowing westward through Canyonlands National Park's fantastical land of hoodoos and canyons, it picks up momentum when it reaches the confluence of the Green and the Colorado rivers. The mighty waters of the Colorado, draining almost 1/12 of the United States, go slack when they reach Lake Powell. This huge lake was created with the building of the Glen Canyon Dam, a massive concrete structure that changed the character of the Colorado River when it flows through the Grand Canyon. The Glen Canyon Dam, 710 feet high, is so massive the concrete may never dry. It took 17 years for the reservoir to fill. Although Lake Powell is named for him, John Wesley Powell might not have been delighted to see what happened to the 165 miles of the exhilarating, untamed river he explored just over a century ago. Boat wakes have replaced the rapids. Today, the annual visitation to Glen Canyon National Recreation Area is around 2 million. The waters flowing from Glen Canyon Dam are cold and clear, stripped of sediments and sand, regulated by man, not nature. Navajo Bridge spans the beginning of Marble Canyon. One of the spans is a dramatic walkway across the canyon and the site of a visitor center. For visitors traveling from the South Rim to the North Rim, some 200 miles, the Navajo Bridge is the eastern passage around the Grand Canyon by vehicle. If you want to skirt the Grand Canyon to the west by auto, Las Vegas is close to midpoint. Nearby, Hoover Dam was built in the 1920s to control flooding on the lower Colorado River. It created a massive lake that backs into the canyon. The Colorado is dammed upstream and downstream of the canyon. Within the Grand Canyon National Park, Colorado River runs free of dams. Running the Grand Canyon on the Colorado River is like a long handshake with the canyon. The traveler gets to know the moods of the river and develops an intimate feeling for the water, the sand, the heat, and the color. One lives with and in the river. It is a classic way to appreciate the sublime beauty, just as John Wesley Powell did. Every mile seems to be haunted by the story of Powell and his expedition. Today, Lee's Ferry, 15 miles down the river from the Glen Canyon Dam, is the launching point for boating trips down the Grand Canyon. Lee's Ferry is mile 0 for the 277-mile trip on the Colorado River through the Grand Canyon. Passing under Navajo Bridge, the Marble Gorge is a dramatic beginning to a canyon journey. The rock was misnamed by Powell. It is really Redwall limestone with a polished appearance. Most of the time, the Colorado now looks clear as a mountain stream. When the storms pour into its tributaries, such as the Little Colorado reverts to its wild red color. Tumbling into the river is Vassey's Paradise, a wonderful freshwater spring named by Powell for one of his crew. It is followed by Redwall Cavern, which Powell estimated could seat 50,000. Where the Little Colorado joins the main stream is a sacred spot for the Hopi, who believe they emerged into this world at the Sipapuni in the Little Colorado River Gorge, and who collect salt from deposits along the Colorado River. The river makes a wide sweeping turn to the west below Desert View. Near the mouth of Bright Angel Creek, 2 suspension bridges span the Colorado for foot and mule traffic. Upper Granite Canyon offers superb views of canyon walls. Deer Creek Falls, a tributary that tumbles into the Colorado, is a welcome stopover for hot rafters. And behind the falls is a beautifully sculpted narrow chasm, one of many along the river. Farther downstream, the limestone-rich waters of Havasu Creek make travertine terraces. The canyon is home to the Havasupai. As the Colorado River flows through the Grand Canyon, it drops 2,200 feet, 13 times greater than the drop of the Mississippi River. Where side canyons tumble rocks and boulders in the Grand Canyon, rapids are formed, and the water flows about 7 to 10 miles an hour. Riding these boiling waters in the relative safety of large multi-pontooned motorized rafts, one can appreciate the challenges faced by Powell and his band in their small, fragile wooden boats. The haunting threat of the unknown is gone, but the thrill of white water is still the same. Riding the Wild River is a chance to experience the Grand Canyon in all of its magnificence. This timeless land is a wonder for the ages, that allows every viewer to make a personal connection with nature. In many places, in many ways, the Grand Canyon of the Colorado still remains as Powell described it, the great unknown.